Picture this. It's April 10th, 1912. The air at the port of Southampton is just electric with pride and excitement. You've got the RMS Titanic, this absolute giant, the most luxurious ship the world has ever seen, ready for its maiden voyage. Crowds are roaring, people are waving, and nobody had any idea of the tragedy that was just around the corner. You know, before it even hit the water, the Titanic was a legend. I'm talking newspapers everywhere calling it a marvel, this masterpiece of engineering. And they gave it this incredible title, the Unsinkable ship. And here's the thing. That wasn't just some catchy marketing slogan. People genuinely, truly believed it. So that leads to the big question, right? The one we're here to unpack. If this ship was supposed to be unsinkable, how on earth did it disappear into the icy Atlantic in just 2 hours and 40 minutes? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just the iceberg. It was a whole chain reaction. 6 fatal mistakes, one right after another. All right, so to really get a grip on this whole tragedy, you have to understand the sheer arrogance, really, that surrounded the Titanic. This wasn't just another ship. It was supposed to be the absolute pinnacle of what humans could build. And it was built by the best, for the best. Let's take a look at who was behind this thing. And I mean, just look at this roster. It's an all-star team. The builders, Harland and Wolff, they'd built over 500 ships. The company running it, White Star Line, 100 years of experience. And the captain, Edward Smith, 40 years on the job. With a lineup like that, you can see why everyone thought failure wasn't just unlikely, it was literally impossible. But all that confidence, that feeling of being invincible, that's what led straight to the very first mistake. Because from the second it left the dock, this wasn't just a luxury cruise. Oh no, it was a race against the clock to make a big splash and prove a point to the whole world. And it all came down to one thing, pressure. The owners of the ship told Captain Smith, get to New York by April 17th. That's just 7 days. He had to set a record, to show off the Titanic's speed. So what did he do? He pushed it. He kept the speed dangerously high right from the very beginning. And that was the first link in a chain that would lead to disaster. Okay, let's jump ahead now. It's the night of April 14th. The ocean is strangely calm, like glass, but it's pitch black and it's hazy. You can't see a thing. And all the while, the Titanic is just plowing through the water at top speed. This is where 2 more critical mistakes are about to be made. 6. Just let that number sink in. 6 separate warnings about icebergs came in that day from another ship nearby. They absolutely knew there was ice right in their path. So the big question is, what happened to those warnings? And that brings us to mistake number 2. Believe it or not, the wireless operators were just too busy. You see, on a ship this luxurious, they were basically swamped sending personal telegrams for all the rich first-class passengers. Having a wonderful time, wish you were here, that kind of thing. So the last, most critical warning, the one that said, hey, you are sailing directly into an ice field, it never even made it to the captain. Now for mistake number 3, and this one is just infuriating. Up in the crow's nest, you've got lookouts, right? Their one job is to scan the horizon. And they were doing their job staring into the dark. But they were missing one simple, crucial tool, binoculars. Can you believe it? Without them, they didn't see that massive football field-sized iceberg until it was right on top of them. Way too late to turn. So at 11:40 p.m., it happens. That horrible scraping sound as the iceberg tears along the side of the ship. Captain Smith does what he can. He orders the engine stopped, the ship turned, but it's too late. The damage is done. And this is the moment when mistake number 4, a fatal flaw hidden deep in the ship's own design, comes to light. So check this out, because this is the real kicker. You'd think a ship this advanced would be built with the strongest materials, right? Wrong. The huge steel plates on the hull, they were held together by cast iron rivets. Not steel, cast iron. And cast iron is brittle, so when the iceberg hit, instead of bending, the rivets just popped. It was like a zipper coming undone, opening up the side of the ship to the sea. And that single design flaw made all the difference. See, the Titanic was actually designed to be incredibly safe. It could stay afloat, even if 2 or even 3 of its water compartments flooded completely. But because those cheap rivets popped, the iceberg tore open a 4th compartment. And at that point, it was just simple math. The unsinkable ship was going down. It was guaranteed. With water rushing in, the focus changes completely. It's no longer about saving the ship. It's about saving the thousands of people on board. Captain Smith sends out the emergency call. The evacuation begins. But this is where the last two mistakes are made. And these are the ones that really highlight the human cost of this disaster. Okay, get ready for mistake number 5 because this one is just mind-blowing. The Titanic was designed to hold 32 lifeboats. But to make the decks look less cluttered, they only put 20 on board. 20. That meant there were only enough lifeboat seats for about half the people on the ship. Think about that. Before a single lifeboat was launched, more than 1,000 people already had no hope of getting off. And that brings us to the 6th and final mistake. When you don't have enough boats for everyone and you haven't done a single training drill, what do you get? You get chaos. Absolute chaos. Panic, confusion. The crew didn't even really know how to launch the few boats they had properly. It was a complete disaster. And you can see just how flawed this whole rescue was. The very first lifeboat went into the water at 12:45 a.m., and it was less than half full. They sent it away with empty seats. In all the panic, they prioritized first-class passengers, but even then, boats were being lowered that could have saved dozens more people, leaving them behind on a sinking ship. Let's turn to the final, chilling moments of the disaster. As the ship slips further and further into the Atlantic, the horrible reality sets in. The water out there, it's minus 2 degrees Celsius. It's freezing. For anyone who ends up in that water, survival is pretty much impossible. And the end came so fast. At 2:18 a.m., the lights go out. Total darkness. Just 2 minutes after that, the ship literally breaks in half from the stress, and then it's gone. Slipped beneath the waves forever. The whole thing, from hitting the ice to sinking out of sight, just 2 hours and 40 minutes. More than 1,500 people died that night. And that number's probably low because there were passengers who didn't even have tickets. And for anyone in that minus 2 degree water, you wouldn't survive for more than half an hour. It's just a staggering, heartbreaking loss of life. You know, even in all that horror, there were acts of incredible courage. By all accounts, Captain Smith spent his last moments helping people, urging them to save themselves. He stayed at his post, following that old maritime tradition. The captain goes down with the ship. So, when all is said and done, you have to ask yourself, was the Titanic really a victim of an iceberg, just a freak accident? Or was it a casualty of human pride, of an overconfidence so total that it led to a chain of errors, one after another, that sealed the fate of the unsinkable ship? What do you think?